When we label graphs, we're going to use the data table to help us figure out what labels to put on the x and the y axis of our graph. In question 1 here, in our data table, we see it says student has pencil, yes or no, number of students, 26 and 5. So based on this data table, it looks like we're trying to figure out if a student has a pencil, and the people that said yes, they had a pencil was 26 students, and the students that did not have a pencil were 5 students. So let's figure out our variables here. Did we get to choose if we asked the students about their pencil, or did we get to choose if the student had a pencil? In this case, we chose to ask the question if they have a pencil or not. We didn't get to choose if they had a pencil. That was up to them. So we just measured that. So we're going to use these labels and add them to our graph. Now, since we chose to ask the students if they had a pencil, that makes this our independent variable, the variable we chose. On a basic graph, the independent variable will go on the x-axis. And we see here, there's a yes and a no on the x-axis scale, and that makes sense, yes, no, because that's listed under if the student has a pencil or not. So we're going to use those words, student has pencil, and it makes sense to be with the yes or the no. Now the number of students, that's our dependent variable, that's what we measured. Notice that's already on the graph here so that we know these numbers right here represent the number of students that did or didn't have a pencil. Now, question number 2 down here, you get to do on your own. Let's talk about it. The 2 variables we have are room number and number of seats. Then it just keeps going. Same thing, room number, number of seats. So let's look at the type of data we have. We have room number 202, 203, 203. These are numbers for rooms. Then we have number of seats, and it lists how many seats are in that classroom. Which did we choose? Did we choose to look at specific rooms, or did we choose how many seats they had in each room? In this case, it looks like we chose the room numbers to look at, and then we measured how many seats they had. That means one of these is the independent variable and one of these is the dependent variable. You get to decide now which one is going to be labeled on the x-axis. Does the x-axis represent the room number or does it represent the number of seats? We're not going to give you the answer on that one. You get to determine that on your own. When we come up to question number 3 up here, notice now that we're not just doing the x-axis label, we also have to do the y-axis label. Let's look at the data table we have here. Our 2 variables are sports and players. It looks like our sports are soccer, basketball, baseball, tennis. And then we have players and we have some numbers. So maybe this is number of players, okay? So did we choose which sports to check or did we choose which players to count? Well, we chose which sports to check and then saw how many players were in each sport. So let's go and take a look at our graph. Which one is going on the x-axis? Well, it's got to be our independent variable. Now, it looks to me like we chose which sports to check, and so that would probably be our independent variable and go on the x-axis. And that makes sense because soccer, basketball, baseball, and tennis are all sports, so that matches our label here. Now, what do these numbers mean? Well, these numbers are players. So we're going to add that to our y-axis. Players. Notice that we use the exact words from our data table and just put them in the right places on our graph. You are in charge of doing the rest of this worksheet, both sides.